and they are the favorite next season to win a championship because Ben Simmons is going to improve. Joel Embiid's going to improve. We assume Markelle Fultz will be able to make a shot at some point. From
Markelle Fultz has looked good.
He took his first three-pointer, and that didn't look
okay,
good.
No, he's jump shot, but he's looked like a competent player otherwise.
He's got a great ability to probe the paint. Anyway, they keep getting better. But more importantly for LeBron, Philadelphia allows you to age gracefully. Because in Philadelphia, you could step into that team and be the alpha right away. But as he hits his mid to late 30s, and as those young guys start to improve, you can get Embiid taking over, Ben Simmons taking over. All these guys can become the alphas of that team, while LeBron kind of becomes second, third option as in his late 30s. Now, my one question would be, how in the hell do you afford that if you're Philadelphia? That's like 4 potential max contract guys or close to it that you have on the roster.
You don't, when you say afford it, they would, salary cap wise, they could sign him next year because they let it go. They have the space, but you mean eventually
down the line
you're paying a bunch of guys $40 million. It's a good problem.
Yeah.
What you talk about age gracefully, this is why when KD's decision was coming up, I was the one person saying, anyone think about Minnesota? Like, could he go to Minnesota? And the reason was, and at the time I thought Wiggins was better than he's ended up being, but I said, KD gets there, he's instantly the best player, and then in 5 years, he's the second best player, and Karl Anthony Towns is the best player. And then in 7 years, he's the third. You know what I mean? That is the exact same progression.
Of course, you play for Tibbs, and you're playing like 38 minutes a game.
It's a great point. That maybe for a lot of reasons, KD not going to Minnesota probably the right decision for him. But I like that idea of it, and that's the case against Houston. The question, if we're talking about Houston versus Philly, is do you trust Embiid's health or Chris Paul's age more? Because Chris Paul, while he's been in the league a year less than LeBron, he's older than LeBron. He's also an undersized point guard, and we know those guys don't typically age too gracefully. So I've been saying, CeCe was the first person I heard on television mention Philly seriously. It got me thinking about it a lot, and so that is now where I think is the best fit for him, even better than Houston because of the age and gracefully thing. But the team that I haven't mentioned, that you didn't mention, but was the team that seemed to get this whole thing started a year ago, is the Los Angeles Lakers, and that's a team, CeCe, you've been talking about a lot lately in regards to LeBron.
Yeah, and also I think you have to look east and west. I think that when guys make decisions like this, because LeBron has dominated the East, I think that he'll pick a team or two, and I believe that will be Philadelphia and Cleveland if he decides to stay in the East. If he decides to go west, I believe that at the top of that, Houston and Los Angeles. And I just believe the overall pool of Los Angeles, Magic Johnson, and the potential of the players that he can bring there, that is real. And I just know that Houston is interested in LeBron and having his services. It's just a matter of what he wants to do. I love the fact that you're talking about aging gracefully. And also I believe that there's a certain part of LeBron that's different than KD. KD wants a laid-back atmosphere. He just wants to talk about basketball. I believe that LeBron, the mentoring part, this next part of his career, I believe is going to be very important. Now, he wants to play with good players, but his ability to be able to give that basketball knowledge to other good young players, I believe that's more attractive than maybe potentially playing with the Kawhi or someone like Paul George, playing with Joel Embiid, playing with Simmons, and the overall interaction that LeBron would have in the role in their life. I believe that's important to LeBron. I believe he'll look at something like that, Jenna, as he decides to make this next decision.
Do you think conference or what side of the country matters at all to LeBron? Would he rather be the best player in a, we'll call it a weakened conference, or does he want to go out and be competitive in the next couple of years?
LeBron makes no secret of his desire for a great legacy. Like, he's very open about that these days. Now, what's the one way he can burnish that legacy? It's to win championships. He's probably, best case scenario, he probably adds another L to his finals resume this year. I mean, look, let's be real. He's going, like,
no, I'm with you.
Like, come on, even you can't.
And that doesn't help his resume.
That doesn't help his resume.
So you have the best case scenario is the same as the worst case scenario. Because they've already made the finals, so the best and worst case scenario is the same. You did a loss in the finals. Got it. Go ahead.
Sorry, we'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if he's looking to win championships, long-term conference does matter. And that's why Philadelphia makes more sense. Look, he's going to have to contend with Boston because the Celtics, even if they maintain the status quo, they're going to have a very good young team that's going to be solid over the next few years. But Philadelphia, Simmons, imagine Simmons with a jump shot. Embiid, I actually believe Embiid's health problems are behind him. Last year, it was the meniscus issue. The foot has not been a problem in like 2 years. So
that was the major one.
Yeah, I'm
because
good with
those feet are tricky, especially with 7-footers.
Well, listen, I want to talk about the legacy thing just for a second, because I know I know for a fact that there is a team that will recruit LeBron. They are not yet because that'd be tampering, and of course they wouldn't.
Yeah,
but that will recruit LeBron, that is out west, that is going to make the legacy pitch this way. Fair or not, people hold those finals losses against you. If you go out west, you might not make every NBA Finals. But when you do, if and when you do make the finals, you will be the heavy favorite. Like, going out west might prevent some more finals losses from piling up as opposed to staying out east. Now, I don't buy into that logic because I think making the NBA Finals is a better accomplishment than losing in the second round. But I'm a man on an island there. CeCe, you talk about the finals record. Our pal Skip talks about the finals record. Everyone.
Because the greatest players in the world, they can have such a dominant presence on a basketball. It's not baseball. It's not football. Like, they can dominate the game.
Yeah, but how many of those finals losses, and I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole, but how many of those finals losses do you really hold against him? Like, I think one, that first year in Miami, they should have beaten Dallas. These other series, they were just outgunned. Beginning in 2007, they were completely outgunned by better teams. I don't think LeBron, I agree with you, in basketball.
You know the reason why I keep track of them? It's because they keep him scoring, they keep him track of.
Yeah, look, they are. But, you know, he's something for LeBron. And you stay in the Eastern Conference. You know, when was the last time? You have to go back to, like, the Russell Celtics when a guy could make the finals in, like, 10, 11 consecutive years. You make the finals this year in Cleveland. You go over to Philadelphia. You might be back in the finals again next year. You just keep those runs going. That's an accomplishment.
Listen,
it's not the same, but it's an accomplishment.
You got to go back to the Russell Celtics for a guy doing it 5 straight times. That's not LeBron James. Just one last point real quick. If LeBron's serious about playing until he's 40, if he were to go to Houston, he then probably has to change teams again at some point if he wants to keep competing for a championship. The Lakers or the Sixers are the 2 places where you theoretically would be his last.
He's going to try to get on Jordan's corner. He's going to join the Wizards.
Look, to bring it back, though, quickly to San Antonio and why I think they're in the mix here. And this was before the Kawhi stuff happened. This is things might have changed as a result of this. But people in LeBron's orbit have often kind of told me that LeBron craves playing for a great coach.
Yes.
And he has not had that opportunity yet in his career. And Greg Popovich is the only great coach out there. Now, he's not going to play for Phil Jackson for many different reasons. Doc Rivers, not quite on that level.
And he's not playing for Brad Stevens.
No, Pop's the guy. And the chance to play for Pop, I think that means something to LeBron James.
Good conversation. Chris, thanks so much, as always, for joining us. Coming up, an all-pro NFL player is campaigning for Odell Beckham to join him next on First Things First.
A little shade at Spoelstra. Spoelstra's on the...
He was